Hello and welcome to Rules and Rulings, helping you to be judge, jury, but hopefully not executioner of your 5e D&D games. I can't count the number of times I've seen people ask for advice about how to run a larger scale social encounter, such as a ball or a banquet. Today we're discussing an idea for adding a little structure to larger scale social encounters. The rules given in the DMG break the social pillar down into a repeating series of role-playing moments and charisma checks, anchored around the concept of attitudes. A creature can be friendly, indifferent, or hostile to you or your cause. This attitude, and whether you changed it through your roleplay, then determines the effects of a charisma check to obtain a specific goal. This is a great baseline, especially when dealing with one NPC. The only advice given for changing a character's attitudes, however, is to touch on their ideals, bonds, and flaws, an element of the game which goes neglected and ignored by many. This is a shame, because those little nuggets of character expression can be a great source of inspiration. But it is understandable that you might not want to build out a list of ideals, flaws, and bonds for, say, all the NPCs in attendance at a ball or a banquet. So, we only have a very small section dedicated to the social pillar in the book, but we have a lot more space dedicated to combat. So let's steal some stuff. We can borrow hit points to serve as a measure of an NPC's resolve, spine, or simply how guarded they are. This gives us a better scaffolding for when transitioning between the three attitudes, reaching certain damage thresholds. A town guard might have 20 hit points that need to be whittled down with persuasive arguments before they'll change their attitude from indifferent to friendly. We can borrow resistance and vulnerability to represent which techniques are more likely to work on a certain NPC. A retired general at a banquet might be resistant to intimidation, but vulnerable to persuasion based on flattery. These can be incredibly broad or even improvised in the moment more easily than fully rounded out character traits. Weapons can give us a good idea for the sort of damage you can expect to deal against these hit points, whether you're a heavy hitter or more of a light touch with your words. You want to assign these based on how talkative and social the character is. The barbarian might be able to stare daggers at people, while the sorcerer's charismatic words might hit like a battle axe. Now, this does run the risk of making the social pillar seem overly gamey, however, so it would be a good time to employ a GM screen. Rolling for social damage behind the screen means that you could be rolling anything. Contested rolls, saves, anything. There's also a place where fudging and leaning into the rule of cool would be entirely justified. You're bringing in extra crunch from outside of a system just to give it a little more structure. You don't need to be completely rigid about it. A great argument that reduces a creature to 1 HP from friendly might as well be good enough, rather than expecting another player to chip in with and I agree, to tip it over the edge. This approach also allows you to model other elements of social interaction. Say we have a duke who we're trying to embarrass and our rogue reveals that his mine in the east was destroyed. That could easily be interpreted as a sneak attack. Maybe a barbarian's danger sense lets them know when someone in a group tenses up and reflexively twitches towards their weapon. Perhaps a fighter's second wind and action surge features could make them especially talented at filibustering. No need to go completely wild with this approach. Initiative and rounds probably have no place in social encounters. However, pulling in those combat mechanics can help everything feel a little more unified and part of the same game. So that's the concept in a nutshell. Steal from combat to give socializing a little more grit. Did you completely forget about the attitudes in the DMG? Do you have other ideas for how you'd apply combat class features to social situations? Let me know in the comments and I'll see you next time.